because in TV and radio, time is everything, and the clock is ticking. And a minute is longer than you think it is. 60 seconds seems like forever when you're standing in front of a camera waiting to go live. So we live and die by the clock when we're in media, especially news media. For radio, you've got top of the hour hits you've got to hit at the 60 on the dot, so you're always back timing, making sure that your commercials are running, that you're airing your commercials, and that you hit the top of the hour right on time, because then you go into national and then you come back local. And so same thing goes for TV, by the way, too. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Does anybody here interested in reporting, TV news reporting, on-air stuff? Okay, a couple people. I graduated from Edison High School here in Fresno, and I went across the country to New York University. I thought that I was going to be some big singer on Broadway. And then September 11th, 2001 happened, and it was a day that really changed my life. It was a very traumatic day. It changed the world as we know it. And for me, I sat and I watched TV all day, and I thought to myself, I don't want to sing anymore. I want to do what the people on TV are doing, and I want to be a news reporter. I want to help people in a time of crisis. I want to deliver the news, and I want to deliver a good product. So I got 2 majors at NYU, and I moved back home to Fresno after school because I didn't know what I wanted to do. It's very confusing, and I didn't intern anywhere, and so I needed to kind of figure out and get a job. So I moved back home, and I got into my flip phone. That's how long ago this was. There were flip phones. And I got into my little Razor flip phone, and I started going through every single person in my contact list, calling and asking them, do you know anybody that works at a TV station? And one person did. And I said, I will sweep floors, I will get coffee, I don't care what I have to do. I just need to figure out what the heck I'm gonna do with the next few years of my life, and I wanna work in a TV newsroom. And so I got into KMPH Fox 26. They were starting a new show called Great Day. Anybody ever heard of Great Day? Okay, so I was one of the first people hired to sweep the floors at Great Day, and that's what I did. I showed up to work on time every day. I worked from midnight to 9 a.m. It was not a fun job at all. I slept during the day, and I was up all night long, and I worked my butt off. And from there, I became a writer for the show. And so you write copy, and I'm sure maybe at some point along the way you'll learn about writing copy. Then I went and became a producer. I produced an hour on Great Day. And from there, I decided I want to be on air. So I moved to Yakima, Washington. Anybody ever heard of Yakima, Washington? All right, one person. It's about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours outside of Seattle. It's in central Washington. But that's where you get your start when you're in TV. You go to the middle of nowhere, and you learn the ropes. Because everything that you can learn in class, it gives you the foundation. It's good stuff. But you make your mistakes and you try by being out in the field. And so you need a place to do that in. So you go to the middle of nowhere. And I spent a year in Yakima, Washington before I moved back, and I started working at CBS 47, and that's how I met Mr. Cook. Mr. Cook became my photographer. And we worked together for a good 3 years, a good 3 solid years before I moved on to radio. And loved TV. TV is fast. You do something new every single day. And that's the one thing I liked about it. No day was ever the same. I'd show up for work, and I'd be told, by the way, go home, pack a bag. You're going to Mammoth because a plane crashed into the side of a mountain, and you're gonna go hike the mountain to try and find a plane crash. And that's what I did, and I spent a week doing that with all national media and local media because Mammoth happens to be in Madera County, which falls into our viewing section here in Fresno. So in Mammoth, even though it's a 7-hour drive to get there, and it's on the other side of Yosemite National Park, and it's in the middle of nowhere, it's within the Fresno viewing audience. And so that's where you go. One day I show up and I'm told you're going to be going to Bakersfield for the next 3 days because in Bakersfield there was a child that got lost and you're going to go look. Now, even though Bakersfield has its own media market, the reason you go is because you're always working to try and get the best story possible and tell the best story possible. It is a hard job. You don't sleep very much, and it's constantly go, 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 and you have to be very flexible. So I moved on to radio. And what I like about radio is that, first of all, I can wear whatever the heck I want to work, so that's really nice. And I don't have to put on makeup or have my hair done every single day, which gets really tiring when you're doing it 5, 6, 7 days a week for 3 years. And radio is a little bit more laid back, but it's all about the voice. And so it's all about audio. So I'll go through some of that with you, but that's just a little bit of my story. You know, the thing about what being a reporter is about being a good storyteller. Looking at something that seems really simple and being able to tell that story. Now in TV, it's about the images and the pictures, which I think in today's social media world is probably a little easier. And in radio, it's about the sound and the things people say and the story that you tell. So it relies more on your writing skills necessarily than TV does. So the other aspect of it too is that you always have to be thinking about, in TV, and even in print for that matter, your image, the image that you're portraying to people. When you sit down for an interview, and I'm sure you'll go through this in class, you're looking at how does the person I'm interviewing, how are they lit? What do they look like? Do they have a hair sticking up that is going to distract the person watching them on the screen like heck, and they're never going to hear what they're saying because they've got this wild hair sticking up out of their head? And you have to constantly be looking at how does that look. And the same thing goes for TV. When you're telling the story with those images, images are just as important as the storytelling. They'll tell you that the average person listens to the TV and there's something that's said that makes them turn and look at it. Do you find that to be true? Like if you're listening to, say if you're watching something, maybe like you're on your phone, but there's something that gets you to like pick your head up and like look up at the TV. So there's something that's said, but the image has to go with that. And they're just as important. Whereas in radio, most people listen in their cars, or podcasting is really, popular right now. So people are listening and maybe they're paying half attention. So there's something within the audio that gets their attention. Is it what we call nat sound? Are you telling a story about water and it's the sound of rushing water that captures someone's attention? You have to think about this kind of stuff when you're writing and putting together your story. Mr. Cook said that you're working on editing right now. Yeah? I'm a pretty darn good editor when it comes to audio, let me tell you, because I can blend audio like none other. And that's the one thing you get to do when you're in radio, is you work on audio. And I work on audio probably for a good 2 hours a day just to prepare for the show that I do, which is 2 hours in itself. So audio is incredibly important. Sound bites, examples, something to support what you're saying, what you're thinking, that's all really important. So when it comes to video editing as well, you have to think about from picture to picture, are the two pictures too similar that nobody's ever gonna know that you're changing pictures and you're talking about something different, right? Is the picture just kinda, you know, you play around with this stuff, and that's the best part about learning and being like in a class like this. You get to try things, and you get to fail at it. It's okay to fail, by the way. You gotta fail somewhere. You gotta try things out. You gotta be adventurous. You gotta try different images and stories and things of that sort. But so I brought a couple examples.
Yeah, I'm gonna borrow you.
Yeah. Okay. Because while TV and radio are similar, they are different, and editing does matter. And you never think about, probably with social media today, you guys understand imagery better than I ever did at your age, but this was something that I had to learn along the way. I never had a class like this where I went, you know, at Edison. I learned in college and it was iffy. So it's great that you guys have a class like this where you can kind of try this stuff out, because I've been doing this a long time now, and it just kind of takes experience and going through it a lot, but your gut is worth a lot too. So going with your instincts is really important. Okay, let's see.
Want to do this one?
Which one's that?
The Man Cold Weather.
Oh yeah, I like this one. So this is a TV reporter I like off of CNN. Her name's Jeannie Mose.
40 or 50 degrees.
Jeannie Mose is a great storyteller. She's the best. She is so good. She takes quirky subjects and makes them interesting. And so this is about cold weather, which you would think, who cares about cold weather? But watch the piece and watch how she tells the story. She makes it interesting.
50 degrees below zero, you can't blame a guy for taking boiling water and blowing off a little steam, watching it instantly turn into snow and ice. But photographer Joe Chawanek of Alberta, Canada, got a kick out of seeing what other people did. How cold is it? Cold enough to use a banana to pound a nail. Cold enough to beat a frozen shirt like a drum. To turn jeans into a battering ram. So Joe decided to do his own game of, you froze your what off?
The next one was a plate of ramen noodles.
In 60 seconds, the boiled noodles were frozen stiff.
Frozen in time. The Frozen in Time series, I guess I'm calling it.
The next experiment involved placing an egg on a couple of straws and cracking it open. Forget hard-boiled, we're talking frozen solid.
My neighbors were looking out their window and thought I was crazy.
And finally, there was something charming, make that charming, about what the severe cold did to toilet paper.
People should make the best of the conditions they're in.
But don't try using it, or you will truly freeze your butt off. In the immortal words of Annie Lennox, cold, cold, cold. Jeannie Mose, CNN, New York.
Okay, so tell me some things you liked about that. Anyone brave enough to say something? What did we like? Yeah. She was a little funny. Yeah. You know, I mean, when you're doing a serious story, you have to be serious, right? But she took a story on the cold weather and made it a little funny. She gave some quirky video to it. It's probably all on the guy's social media, you know, and placed it together. He had good imagery, good pictures, good video. What else did we like about it?
Her voice like brings your attention.
Yeah, her voice does bring your attention. It's a little different, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, it's unique. And it grabs your attention. I always know when I hear a Jeannie Mose rap. I mean, my favorite, I couldn't find it. My favorite Jeannie Mose rap was she did a story on somebody came up with this thing called My Pet Fat. And it's like a big 20-pound thing of lard. And it looks like fat, and people would take it with them to the grocery store. And she literally walked into a grocery store, put the My Pet Fat in the front, you know, where like a baby would go, in the grocery cart, and walked around the grocery store to see people's reactions. And the funniest video of people like doing double takes, like looking, and the way she wrote the story, it was just hilarious. But it's, you know, storytelling is really important in having the video to support it. Anything else anybody caught? All right. Let's do a radio one now, because radio doesn't have the benefit of the imagery. So it's all just listening and audio, right? So you've got to rely on sound. A lot of people don't do it very well. This was the best one I could find
Take
you.
a pause.
Did you ever hear a turkey vulture? No, it's not the prettiest song, and neither is the bird. But Nick Lund with Maine Audubon says turkey vultures are actually heroes.
Really important part of our ecosystem. If not for these guys, our roadsides would be littered with gross dead animals and flies and stuff. Turkey vultures take care of that stuff for us. They eat carrion dead animals on the side of the road, and they do a great job of it.
Turkey vultures got their name because they look a little bit like wild turkeys. But did you ever notice that big pink bald head on turkey vultures? What's the point of that?
It's so they can put their head right into a carcass to eat without getting all messy.
So with all that cleaning, you may want to think of the turkey vulture as kind of like the Mr. Clean of the bird world, but with a really bad attitude.
Don't get too close to them, but thank them from afar.
No problem. Take a pause. Jill Nato, Fox News.
Okay, so that was Jill Nato. Anything that we liked or caught on about that one? She had the Nat sound, obviously, at the beginning of the turkey vultures, right? I liked her little Mr. Clean comment, even though it's kind of gross why they have bald heads. But I liked the play on words, you know, keep your distance, no problem. You know, it's a little tongue-in-cheek. It's a little funny. It's a little lighter. But the audio really matters when it comes to radio versus TV. The other thing that comes as you're learning about editing, right? You're going to be doing probably setting up interviews, maybe interviewing each other type of thing, right? So I brought in an image just from the latest interview. You don't have that one? Oh, I copy and pasted it in the, in the email. Okay. So you think you remember? Okay. So when you're doing interviews, you have to think about things like, what is the person wearing? I know that sounds really superficial, but it does matter. If somebody is blending in with the background and can't be seen, you're not going to have them change their clothes, but you are going to change the background for them. You know, you're going to readjust what you've set up to make it work for them, because it doesn't, all that work you put into doing an interview doesn't matter if nobody, for the sake of television, can see the person you're even interviewing, because they blend in with the background. Like I said, if you've got somebody with a hair sticking up out of place, you have to tell them. If you have somebody with food stuck in between their teeth, you have to tell them. You know, you need to, because otherwise all people will see is that. They won't even hear or listen to what the person is saying. And it's just a waste of your time and efforts, because you spend a lot of time doing things. You want it to be good. You want people to watch what you put out there, right? I mean, otherwise, why are you doing it? So, so I brought an image of a latest interview that was done that I kind of thought was a good example of how it could have been made better. Not that it was bad or that it was good, but it could have been made better. And so when Mr. Cook pulls it up, hopefully. No, that's all right. I know mine gets lost too. But whenever he pulls it up, hopefully we'll be able to look at, you know.
Oh, are we talking about the CNN?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, yeah, that one. Yeah.
I don't know if we could.
You're not able to.
I don't know if I can share it on that screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Because it's not an attachment.
Yeah.
No.
You know what I'll do? I'll snip it, and then we'll see if we can do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Any questions so far?
I'm interested in seeing what you're having to say about this.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be interested in your thoughts on this
Yeah, let me see.
as a former photographer, an award-winning photographer.
What do you think one of the toughest news stories that we did? What would you say?
Were you with me when I interviewed the president of Fresno State? Were you with me for that John Welty interview?
Before he left?
Yeah, on the scandals and things.
Yeah, I was always, yeah, remember we were like.
That was really uncomfortable.
Was it?
Sometimes you go into situations that are very uncomfortable. Yeah, because he didn't want to do the interview.
Oh, he didn't?
Sometimes you walk into a room and they don't want to talk to you. Actually, that happens actually a lot. And they don't want to talk to you. And so they're giving you like one-word answers, and it's really, really hard to get something out of the person. And you have to get creative. Sometimes you have to sit there for a few minutes and just chit-chat, try and get them comfortable with you, see if they'll warm up to you. If not, you have to find different ways to ask the same question over and over and over again, hoping that they'll give you an answer. So that was, I'd say, probably like a tough interview. I always hated interviewing family members of a loved one that maybe had been killed in war. That was not ever a nice thing.
We had to do at Buchanan?
That was terrible, yeah. I don't know, you guys are probably young-ish for that one. But after 9/11, you know, a lot of people enlisted, and there were a lot of people from the Central Valley that enlisted, and there was a group of friends from Buchanan that joined the, I don't know if it was Marines or they joined the military. And 4 of them ended up losing their lives. 2 of them were brothers. And that was very, very tough.
The third brother died too, not too long after that.
Right.
Unbelievable.
So that's tough. That's very, very tough.
All right, so we've got this.
Okay.
Let's
All right, can we?
try to blow it up a little bit.
So this was the latest interview done by presidential candidate Kamala Harris and her running mate Tim Walz. And it was done on CNN. I generally like CNN. I don't have a problem with CNN. But I think that there's a couple of things that could have been made better about this interview setup. Does anybody want to take a look and then let me, what do you think could have been made a little better? Yeah, I mean, it's just, first of all, you have 3 people sitting at a table, right? And the people in the forefront are way bigger than she is.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
They're way bigger than she is, and they make her look small, and she's running for president of the United States. That's not a very flattering thing. If it were me, and maybe I'm not gonna change this background situation, or, because there's other things I think too, I would have flipped the 2 of them. I would have put him in the background, and I would have put her up front, because she is the person everybody wants to hear from, right? Everybody wants to know what she has to say. He's her running mate. He has things to say, but she's really the person running for the biggest job in the country, right? I also think, like, the dark background, I would have lit up this background way more, because she wore gray to the interview, and she just kind of blends into me. You know, with the background, you have everything's just kind of the same color along here. These 2 wore blue. They wore navy blue. They kind of stand out, but she blended in. You know, so I would have brought in the lights, and I would have lit up this background if I'm not going to change the background on this. I think the cups are weird in the background. I think that the coffee cups is just, I don't know, just not, I would have, maybe there's something back there, like a sauce of some kind. I would have left those in the menus. Right? It's kind of, I was distracted by the cups in the background. I kind of spent a lot of the time looking like, was somebody sitting there and they kicked him out? That's probably not it. I think somebody actually went through and purposefully put the cups there. But that would not have been my choice. I would have changed that. And this is her bus on the outside trying to bring color, but again, it's not lit up. I may have taken lights outside to really bring some of these vibrant colors on her bus into this shot. So, and then you can't see it in this image, but down here she has a cup of water, and that was driving me crazy too. But it's like way down here by her foot. But I just thought that, like, for the imagery conversation, this just recently happened, and I just thought, you know, it's not good or bad. I just would have done things differently here. And as for somebody that's aware of this stuff, I was really distracted by this. So you have to think about really lighting things up. You know, don't be afraid to use lights, but also know when to take away lights. Like, her face is well lit. They're all like well lit faces, but this is all the same. And when you're in TV, it's about the imagery. It's about what people can see and don't see. So, I mean, like, the CNN exclusive stands out more to me than she does, just because of how this is all set up here. So I would have changed something about that, maybe gotten a tablecloth or something to have changed the background up and the blandness of it. So, anyways, so that's just what that was about. Anybody else catch anything? Anybody else see anything?
Did he not speak? He didn't speak too much, Sean.
He didn't speak very much.
I don't even know why he was there. It's
Yeah,
like
I don't
you're
either.
On the street and like friends want to be together, and that other person doesn't say anything.
Right.
It's like, why are you even in the shot?
It's like her wing person. Yes, I agree. I would have, but you know, when you negotiate these interviews, you negotiate, and you really want an interview like this. If you're a reporter, you want this interview. This is a high-profile interview that a lot of people are going to watch, and so you want to agree to terms that people are asking for. So I understand why you would say yes to him, But I would have definitely flipped these two, no doubt about it, because it's just, she shouldn't look so tiny. It's, yeah, I don't like it. I want them. So anyways, and I would have lowered her chair. I would have, because she's asking the questions, right? She's got a camera that's just on her. It's going to cut to her when she asks the question, and it's going to go back. So the 3-shot to me is just kind of used for editing purposes when you're cutting up a soundbite and you need something so that you don't have a jump cut. You overlay it, maybe, you know, the 3-shot or a behind the head type of thing. And so I would have changed this. Or I would have had her change her jacket, because her jacket upstages both of them. I would have told her to go take off her jacket and put on something different.
Or something gray.
I would have. Because, well, just, it's so distracting to me.
Well, also like they use the wide-angle lens to get all 3 of them, and whenever you're close to
Yeah.
the wide-angle lens, especially if they're
It makes them look farther apart.
large, yeah.
So it looks like this table is bigger probably than what it is, right? Yeah. Her papers, I mean, you have to have your papers, but it's just, I don't know. I would have done things differently here. And if I'm working with my photographer, which you have to have a good relationship with your photographer, hopefully you have a photographer. But in this case, they did. It's big enough and high profile enough that she did. If I were Dana Bash, who did the interview, I would have asked to have seen what does this shot look like with people, and I would have asked for things to be changed a little bit, and I would have finagled with it and worked with it. You can be picky because you want to put out a good product. You want to put something out that people will watch. So you should be picky, you know? You're working together as a team with people, and you always advise to your photographer, but if there's some, I mean, nobody's perfect, you know? So you'll catch, you know, somebody will catch something that I wouldn't, and I'll catch something that they wouldn't, and that's where teamwork comes in and makes everything better anyways.
The more eyes, the better. Right?
The more eyes, the better, absolutely. And I bet you there were like 20 people in this room, and nobody caught it. And I think to myself, gosh,
Maybe you're afraid to even mention it.
maybe, I don't know, but I would have, if I were her, I would have done it before these two even walked in the room. Because you have people sit in the seats, you have people sit there. In an interview like that, you've set up hours beforehand, or at least, gosh, you hope you're supposed to in a situation like this one. So, any questions? Anything you guys are working on now that you have questions about?
Can you talk about the importance of good audio
Yeah.
versus bad audio? Because we're going to be focusing on that, not now, but we will soon.
So are you talking about interview audio or
Just-
nat sound
just
audio?
like bad, like if someone's recording something and
Yes.
bad audio, but it's really good video, more people are going to probably tune out and change the channel if the audio is
Yeah.
horrible.
If the audio hurts your ears, don't air it. Or go find different audio to lay under that video. You know, don't falsify anything. But if it's like an image of running water, but the your audio was off, that it's not hooked up. Okay, I guess you could go grab audio of running water to run under your stream of running water, maybe. There's nothing bad about that. You don't want to take a piece of video and put false audio under it. That's not going to work. But yeah, your audio is very important. Always make sure that your microphone is working. That's another thing. If you're sitting down you would think that this is a duh, right? But I can't tell you. I probably had a handful of times where I would go to a press conference and you'd plug the mic in. You know, they bring in this big box and everybody, well, it's probably all wireless now, but everybody plugs into the same box, right? And you're hitting record and you are not watching the audio cues. And then you get back to the station and you go to edit the audio and you didn't have the mic on. So you have all this video with no mic sound under and working.
I always use a wire.
You do a hard wire?
I don't care if it doesn't look good, as long as it, if it's, there's not going to be any interference.
And you hardwire in put like an earbud in your ear, listen while the person's, and if you have to, stop an interview. It's okay to stop an interview or to stop what you're doing, say, hold on, wait, this isn't right, right? I got to fix something. You'd rather it be something you can use than something you can't use, because then you just wasted an hour of your time. And in an 8-hour day, an hour of your time is a lot. So, yeah. Let's see here. I did traffic for the radio stations when I first started. That was fun. That was, that's a good one. It's quick. The thing also about TV versus radio, a radio, we call them wrap, is about 30 seconds. So you have 30 seconds to tell a story. In TV, it's about 1:30. So you have more time to tell a story because you have the visuals to go with it. Yeah.
Sorry, this is kind of unrelated, but
Okay.
you went to Edison?
I did.
Oh, wow, that's cool. I did too.
Nice. Yeah, I graduated. I'm not going to tell you when I graduated because then you might figure out my age. So that's, but it was a while ago. Yeah. But yeah, I went to Edison. Anything else? Why are you guys taking this class?
Oh, how do you choose my class?
Okay. Uh-huh.
I'm taking it because I want to get better at editing and
Yeah.
just overall, like, better like at talking,
Yeah.
On the camera. That's
Yeah. Absolutely. Just be yourself. Just be yourself. Be, when people watch, they like to see somebody that's not pretending to be somebody else. They just want you to be yourself. They want you to be genuine. I was nervous at first when I got in front of the camera. That was something I had to learn how to overcome. A lot of practice obviously helps. Doing it every day. Like I said, I had to move to Central Washington for a year to go, work out my kinks and figure out, how I, being on air, putting together, packages and stories. And then from that, I kind of came back with a little bit of experience. So, the more trial, the more error, the better you do get. And there, so absolutely. And editing is, a good editor is awesome. Having a good editor, whether you're doing audio or video or both, putting stuff together that people want to watch or listen to is exciting.
Can you talk about the stress that's involved? Because there's
Yeah.
a huge amount of stress in this field. However, it's a great place to be if you want something different every day.
Yes.
Go ahead and talk about the
Yeah.
stress. Like an everyday.
It's really rewarding in the sense of you're doing something different every single day. And at the end of the day, most days you can be done and you are like, you move on to something different the next day. Most days. It's very stressful. You walk in the morning and they have what they call a newsroom meeting, and you sit down and they go over, okay, what do we want to do? What stories are we doing today? And then you get it done that day. So you start from zero at, let's say you have a nice schedule of like 9 to 6. And it's 9 to 6, but you never get time for lunch. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. So, but let's say you get the nice schedule of 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and you're going to do, hits. If you're doing TV, you've got 4 o'clock, maybe you've got a 4:30. You might have a 5 or a 5:30 and a 6 for sure, right? Everybody keeps adding on more shows, more shows, more shows. So you're given a story to do. You usually have to do about 2 versions of that story, and you've got to try and make them a little different. So that might mean you're getting somewhere between 3 to 4 interviews and as much video as possible to fill up 2-minute 30 packages or pieces that you've put together, right? And then my favorite is when they tell you, like, it is hotter than heck outside. And the air quality, there's a fire burning. And the air quality is really, really bad and you're not supposed to go outside. And they tell you, the reporter and the photographer, go do a story on 112 degrees where there's the creek fires burning and the whole city is overcast and you're suffocating from smoke. Go stand outside, go show how bad it is, and do this story. And you're telling people don't go outside while you're standing outside. There's total irony in all of that. But it's fast-paced, moving. You're taking interviews whenever you can get interviews. There were times where I would get an interview, like the last interview I needed. I had to go on air at 5. I was getting that interview at 4:30. And I was like running up the steps of City Hall with the camera guy behind me and literally plopping the camera down for one question that I needed to put in to the package I was going to intro at 5 p.m. And it's just, you're constantly going, you're being very creative. You have to constantly think outside the box. People tell you no all the time. So you have to think about, okay, how am I going to shift this? I've got to tell this story a little bit differently now then, because so-and-so won't give me an interview. Who else could I go to for an interview? Who else could I talk to? You're trying to get just random people on the street. They call them MOSs. Random people on the street, man on the street interviews. You got to ask random people, hi, my name's Christina, and I'm doing a story on the heat. Do you have a couple seconds to talk to me? It'll just be a couple minutes. It won't take very long. I'll get it done really fast, and you can be in and out. And people tell you no. You have to deal with rejection all the time.
And sometimes it's a good idea, just if you're out there, like say you're at River Park, and there's a ton of people, you just go up to them and just put the mic and you just start talking to them.
Yep.
Because then if you've given them the option to say no, they're going to say no, right? They're possibly going to say no.
Exactly.
So if I interview you, we learn quickly. We try to be nice and do it that way, and then we don't have any, we don't get any interviews. So then you just got to go and be like, hey, what do you think about how hot it is today? Or why are you out here? It's 112. There was, 3 or 4 days before I left channel 47 that we did like it was like 112, 3 or 4 days in a row. Remember that?
Yes.
It was crazy.
And it's hot.
We worked in a van, and we had to do everything inside the van. She had to log a story in the van, and we would go live
wherever we could. And you're just getting the stuff together, and you're trying to, because somebody back at the station has made a rundown for a show. They've got an hour to fill, and you have promised them a minute 30. And that minute 30, if you take it away, they have nothing to fill it with. You have to give something. And so your brain is constantly moving and thinking.
What are some skills that if they want to become a reporter, that they need to start developing now?
Writing skills for sure. Creativity. Think about when you walk in a room, think about, like if I had to get video of this room, what would I be getting video of? Right? I'd be, so you've got the camera back there. I'd be zooming in on the TV, right? I might be zooming in on the buttons, right? I might be the pictures along the walls, right? You're thinking about constantly in different angles, things to make what may not be so interesting things interesting to people when they turn on the TV. So you have to be thinking about that kind of stuff. And you can't manufacture anything either, so you can't make it up, you can't pretend. It's got to be real, it actually has to be happening or doing, or an actual thing in the room. You can't falsify anything, But writing skills, I think, are the most important if you want to be a reporter, and doing things quickly. Knowing when you hear a good sound bite. When you're talking to somebody and thinking, oh, there's my sound bite. And then putting in your head, okay, there were times I always had a piece of paper in front of me, and I'd write down a little bit of what they said. And if I was sitting by the camera, I'd look over to see the time code. And I'd write down about what the time code is. And that way I knew, because everything is fast. You're constantly working. And then if I thought of an intro line, this is during interviews, like you're constantly multitasking. If I thought of an intro line into that great soundbite I just heard, I'd write it down really quickly. Like I'd scribble something down so I didn't forget it. Because your brain is going 50 miles a minute. You're definitely exhausted by the end of the day. It is constant go.
How is AI part of?
That's.
Has anyone used it in order to falsify a story?
Yeah, well, we've definitely heard stories. Like Scarlett Johansson, right? They did a whole commercial with Scarlett Johansson that she never did. No, AI did that. One of the things in radio that we are toying around with when it comes to AI, because as a medium where voice is everything, it'd be very easy for AI to come take my voice and do my job for me. So there's, same with news media, TV news, same idea of protecting your jobs. But one of the things that they're toying around with is like commercials, commercials done by AI, weather done by AI. All you have to do is enter in the information and you pick the kind of voice that you want. Southern, Australian, English, whatever. And it totally pulls it back. I mean, yeah, this is something that the traffic done by artificial intelligence. It's really it's a little creepy. It's really creepy how close it is. It's not quite there yet, at least the stuff that my employer has been toying with, but yeah, it's definitely come across my desk several times of, hey, listen to this AI for weather and let me know what you think. So yeah, when it comes to like radio call letters, AI can't differentiate that it's not a word, that they're actually letters. So it tries to, or like a website, it's it hasn't quite perfected the stuff that they're putting out there for media.
What's the longevity of a reporter nowadays, TV versus radio?
I hope long. I hope long, but I don't know. I don't know. But the thing is that if you have the skills for this, there's so much else that you can also do. I always tell people, being a good writer, being a person with a good eye for an image or sound, everybody needs that. Every business needs that. That's why there's marketing people in this world. Marketing people, producing, there is so much that you can take the skills from what you learn in here to do other places, So even if the longevity of, let's say, a radio host or a radio news reporter or a TV news reporter isn't long, the skills, everybody needs those skills. Even if it's, somebody's got to write it for AI. I mean, AI can write it, but it's not quite as good as how we do it just yet. It's better at breaking down a story of like a news article, plug it into a news article and getting it to like give you the bullet points on it. Okay, these are the dummy's guide to this article and piece. But I do think that the skills you learn do have longevity. So.
Does anyone have any questions for Christina? I've asked a couple questions. You guys have any questions? Don't be shy. We're open to any questions. Oh, we have one over there.
Okay.
Do you get nervous?
Yeah, sometimes. You guys are intimidating. You guys are intimidating. I don't know how Mr. Cook does this every day.
I try.
I do get nervous, but I, there's you just shake it off.
Like, have you messed up?
Oh, absolutely, totally. Let's see.
I know of a time, and it wasn't Christina's fault. There was a time where we were going live at River Park, right? And remember I told you guys communication is everything when it comes to this type of field work, right? Well, we were at River Park, we were right in front of the theater, and no one explained to Christina that she was going to be on at a certain time. So,
Yeah.
remember?
Yeah.
You stepped out because you weren't prepared, because they didn't prepare you to be on camera.
Yes.
So
the people back at the station have to communicate with you. They're supposed to give you time cues. They're supposed to tell you like 2 minutes out, and they'll tell you 60 seconds. They'll give you a 30, and then they usually do a 10, and you are ready to go so that you're listening to what's going on back in the studio. so they can hear and toss to you, but nobody had ever, there was no communication that I was going on the air. Or I remember, this is my funniest one, is I was up at Shaver Lake, and you were there, I think you were there. It was a blooper, it was a good blooper reel one. And I was up at Shaver Lake, and I'm doing this, I can't remember what the story was on, but like I'm at the end of the piece, and out of nowhere, a bunch of like ducks come like flying out of nowhere, and I went, ah! And I ducked, live on TV for everybody to see. I hope everybody got a kick out of that one that day, because it scared the, you know what, out of me. Because, you know, and that's like nature. That's definitely nature. Let's see. I had a day, I was covering a high-profile trial down at the courthouse, and there was a woman that, this was not with you. This was with somebody else. And I was doing a hit, it was at like lunchtime or something, and this woman comes up to me, and she's in, she's got a bunch of like those, you know those little like round poker things that fall off the tree? They're not pine cones, but they're round, and they got the little, you know what I'm talking about? They're spiky. She's got a bunch of those. She's got her shirt like out. And this woman just starts throwing those things at me as I'm going live. And I'm like standing there trying to like, people do weird stuff. People do weird things, and you've got to like ever seen that stuff with like reporters where like drunk people come up to them and they're like, you know, like getting in their face or like hugging them or yelling at them or getting aggressive with them. Like, you have to deal with this stuff. And I had this random woman throwing those little poker balls at me. And I thought, what I wanted to say to my photographer was, like, you're supposed to get her out, but he just stood there and didn't do anything. So that's where your teamwork comes in, and having a good relationship with your photographer, who I thought liked me, but maybe didn't, because he let that lady throw those spiky balls at me. So yeah, definitely I've had some, yeah. You gotta be a little shameless. You gotta be, you know, not afraid to make a fool of yourself from time to time. Absolutely.
Any
Yeah.
other questions, guys?
Yeah.
Favorite stories?
One of my favorite stories? Well, I think that probably, there's a couple of them. I talked about the plane crash in Mammoth, which was a very unique experience. There was this billionaire guy. His name was Steve Fawcett. Does anybody know who he is? Anyways, he was an adventurer. He's kind of like a Richard Branson kind of person. And so he went on, he took his plane up and he went missing. And like 6 months later, they found the crash site. And so that's why I got called to Mammoth, and I went with Hackney to that one. And we were there for a good 4 or 5 days, and I literally had just like a backpack of clothes. But that is one of those experiences as a reporter where you get the opportunity to do hits for CNN. You get the opportunity to be on, you know, KTLA. You get the opportunity to be on other stations around the country because it is a high-profile story. And so that's, I'd say, probably one of my most unique experiences. Unfortunately, as a TV reporter, it's probably because of tragedy that Fresno makes the news, which is really unfortunate because we have a lot of great stories here as well. But when you get those rare opportunities to do national TV, it's a pretty cool experience. And you know, you get to have people you know in other places see you, you know, so that's unique and fun. But it definitely was a sad story, you know. That's the hard part about being a TV news reporter. A lot of times the stories are really sad. And so and you meet a lot of sad people. And so you can become very jaded, and it's rough. It's rough, you know, and sometimes you got to go ask people for an interview that you don't feel very good asking them for an interview about, you know, and yet it's your job. It's, you know, so there's some yucky parts to it as well. But like the Jeannie Moses, if I could have Jeannie Moses' job and do those fun stories all the time, that'd be amazing. What?
We would still be working there.
I probably would, yeah, yeah. So at least in radio, you know, it's especially because of COVID and Zoom, like we can get interviews like none other, and putting together stuff is easier. It's more anchoring too, so that's nice.
All right. I think we're coming up to the 2 o'clock mark where they can.
All right, wow. I didn't know if I'd have enough to say to you guys, so.
Perfect.
All right, well, cool. It was nice meeting all of you.
Well, thank you.
I hope you got something out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're opening up some of their eyes.
All right.